with Helmut's help, we have brought out this little book. It's called Stars in the Soup. And it is a collection of my poems. The earliest poem in the book was written when I was 14 in 1956, and the last one in 2003. Most of them, all except that very first one, have been written since I came to Auroville. And today I'd like to share some of them with you in the company of my very old friend Gordon. Gordon and I met in Aspiration in 1971, and we've been close friends since. And he is also a poet, but his very special gift is his flute, and he offered to provide some musical background today, which we hope you will enjoy. I wrote about this stone. It's called Remembering. Smoothly contoured, cool and heavy in my hand, its glassy skin pocked and pitted, this stone speaks. Smoothly contoured, cool and heavy in my hand, its glassy skin pocked and pitted, this stone speaks of rolling and grinding in distant torrents. One scarred and bumpy surface tells that once it was torn rough and raw away from the side of its mother mountain. And these encircling veins remind how long before this substance seethed and folded over was kneaded like dough, baked in the earth's furnace, pressed out to cool and petrify. Long before that, perhaps, atoms now packed dense inside this lump flared out, a cloud in solar wind. Long it lay, oblivious. But now another force, more resistless than all these, has carried it far from that river-carved mountain to lie here, cool and heavy to a human hand, questioned by a human gaze, remembering. On the edge of the twilight ocean, the baby dragons innocently play, their curving bodies formed of spray zip, this way, that way, splash and crash across the bay, leapfrogging on their way, the foamy fingers of nymphs who tirelessly push the wrinkling ripples one by one to shore. Further out and deeper down, in palaces of coral and shining shell, the dragon mothers gather, sipping seaweed tea, showing off their burnished scales, dripping emeralds and pearls. As they play mahjong, their elegant tails flip this way, that way, sending great waves into the bay, where their dragon children boisterously play. In the profoundest gulf of all, the father of all dragons sleeps. Beneath his scaly claws he keeps the fabled treasures of the deeps. When in his sleep he stirs, here there are storms and wars. When that mighty monster wakes, the abyss heaves and quakes. If he should rise in fury, lash and roar and rampage, the gulfs might burst apart and rip this way, that way, amidst the gigantic surges of his rage, spilling those unimagined riches out onto this tranquil shore, where we so lazily sit about, not at all expecting the ending of an age. section, but I will read the poem in which that phrase occurs. It's called Pearl Fishing. Useless all day. Useless all day. A head full of poems doesn't make for practicality. The pull of the dark tide calling me under to coral gardens and pearl beds loosens my grip. My fingers flutter and lose hold. Plans and duties fade, and the forms that anchor us to the surface, leaving beds unmade, dishes unwashed, important messages unanswered, and urgent letters unwritten. I dip again and again in the dark flood, and come up dripping, disoriented, clutching some bright or curious fragment, some morsel of frozen music, turning it over and over, tasting its strange saltiness. I end up sprinkling stars in the soup.